Welcome one all, my name is Tawess and today we are going to have a little world building session. This is basically an idea that came about 4 years ago. It's been swashing around in my brain. And, well, I used to DM a lot and I consider myself a decent DM. And the idea of building my own world, in which I set the rules, it's always been a, tempting idea. So while we are going to base this world on the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, we are going to tweak things a little bit. Also, the build-up in this world is going to be through a set of characters, because that is how I best can spin a story. So I'm going to present 6 characters, which is part of the Fool's Gold company, a band of adventurers and sometimes mercenaries that roam this world called Aetheron. Aetheron is just a pretty basic fantasy world in most aspects, but I'm going to be using condensed magic as a source of power, lifting it more into a sort of steampunk-ish, much like Eberron actually. Not exactly like Eberron, but a bit like Eberron. With the industrialization is starting to set in, and we're going to follow this world forward towards its future, but that's how we're going to do it. We're going to start in a place where this aether, this condensed magic, is just starting to be explored. And it's going to be this driving force behind a lot of conflict in the world. And as I say, we're going to follow a few different races. We're actually going to stop right there. We're not going to use the word race. We're going to use the word species, because each species is going to have so many sub-factions, sub-variations, that I think species actually better encompass what it is. So when we're talking about goblin, for example, we're going to start there. When we're talking about the goblin species, and then there's a ton of variation below that, depending on where they are, how they grew up, and, like how we have it today. So we're going to start with these 6 characters, and through them we're going to explore other parts of the world. And once we're done with these 6 characters, we are then going to build out the bigger world around them, and we are going to, do this through art, basically. Whether this be painting miniatures, drawing, map making, we'll see exactly where it leads. I'm not entirely sure. But that is where we are going to go with this. I don't know how long time it's going to take. Maybe a few months, maybe a year, I don't know. That is one of these interesting things. I have no clue where this is going to end up. Allow me to introduce to you Lex Arrow. Born in the goblin village of Crater Nook, Lex had a rather uneventful life up until the point where he got the Wanderlust. But to understand what the Wanderlust is, we must understand Crater Nook. Crater Nook is a small goblin city that sits in a natural cove with high cliffs on 3 sides and the open Agath Sea in front of it. As fortune had it, the same cliffside that fell away also created a natural harbor around the city, and the waters beyond were rich in fish and other sea life. This provided many fishing companies with a steady source of income, and the small city of Crater Nook a steady source of food. Now combine these two and you got a steady supply of ships for raiding and other such things. But the yield of fish was so well that most shipping companies decided that a few goblin raids along the Rhine, it's simply part of operations. So Crater Nook became the center of a spread of goblin villages up and down the coast. Generations came and went, and the previously nomadic pirates became homesteaders. But every now and then, one of them would get what would be called the Wanderlust. This is not some paltry itch to take a walkabout. No, this is more akin to a divine call. Or a fanatic twitch, depending on who you asked. Sometimes tens of years passed without someone getting it, and some years it would strike several times. And when so happened, the shamans would gather and call upon the spirits and ask them to infuse the wanderer with power to aid them on this journey. How this aid manifested was unpredictable, as it was absolute. Whomever got infused was in one way or another changed forever. even if the wanderer would some way find his way home. So now that we understand a little bit of the culture of Creighton, we can focus on Lexaru. His family was one of the fishers, meaning that Lex spent his youth as much on land as on water, helping his parents in their work. This of course led him to join a raiding crew when he got older, used as he was to the sea and to boats. All in all, life was good, and had the wanderlust not taken him, Lex would most likely grown up to become a respected fisher in his own right. But that was not his path. As he grew into adulthood, he began making excursions, some days being out on the sea or up and down the coastlines for days. At the next gathering, the shamans set up the ritual guiding and slowly lowered Lex into the pool of visions. For some, this is an awakening into a higher power or arcane mystery. Some find great martial ability gained through the ancestors. Lex, on the other hand, only felt anger. Hot, burning anger, and a feral instinct to hunt and to kill. As he opened his eyes, he was not looking out over Creighton. Instead, he was looking out over an endless rolling hills and grasslands. Before him sat a grey and black striped bear-like creature. It looked at him, and as it did, he felt the anger drain away to a place deep inside of him. Not gone, but for the moment content. The creature looks into his eyes, and a low murmur reverberates inside his head. The murmur slowly becomes words. What followed was a rather lengthy conversation about the soul of the wild. And by the end of it, Lex understood that he was now bound to the feral wild. For as long as he wandered the winding roads, he would be able to call upon the soul of the wild, to become a fighter and a hunter without peer. But with that came the unpredictable nature of the wild animal. The rage now seated inside of him would spill forth and fuel his muscles, but also dim his mind. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he was back in Creighton. So, with the wanderlust now in full swing, and the ritual completed, Lex hitched a ride with a trading expedition, and when he came upon the next large port, he signed up as a privateer. A few blissful years at sea ended abruptly, as the captain lost his letter of marque. Now a simple pirate crew, the very same navy they used to work for, hunted them. The life of a pirate is short and violent, so the crew split up and went on their different ways, as most felt that living was preferred. After this, Lex wandered the continent, doing odd jobs when he could. But it quickly became apparent that his species had earned a bit of a reputation. You see, goblins are generally pushed to the fringes of society when outside their own villages, and even when with their own, they have a rather generous opinion on other people's property rights. In essence, they believe in taking what you need, but never more, and never from those who cannot afford it. Robbing and raiding seems more of a game to them. Now, once this collide with people who do not share this outlook on life, many goblins sour, and what was a light-hearted game turned into a petty and often malicious method of payback. This of course only sparks a cycle of suffering. Lex, having grown up far from these areas, was happily unaware on how the rest of the world looked at his species. He learned quickly, and like most goblins faced with this, he gave the cities the solemn salute and headed out into the wilds. For another couple of years, he let his wilder side roam free, hunting when hungry and sleeping whenever he was tired. He kept to the warmer regions of the continent, and life was for all intents nice. But say the happiness that lasts forever. One day he came across the odd pair, an orc and a kenku, both badly beaten and about to become bear snacks. Helping them chase the bear off and providing with some simple aid for the wounds. Lex was hired as a guide to get the two back to the nearest city. And this is how Lexaru met with the adventuring party of Fool's Gold. And with that, my friends, we tie a knot on today. And I hope this at least piques some interest for you to watch more. Hit a like if it does, it would really help me. And until next time, stay safe, be kind, and do play fair.